Let me get in here and do this. All right, let's see if we can get this going now. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. I am Douglas Krantz. Welcome to the CIA, the Constitution in Action. Merry Christmas to all my dear friends out there today. I hope your holiday is going good so far. Um, as you can tell from the title, we're just going to have a general chat today. I mean, nothing major, nothing in between. My friend Brenda is out there somewhere, I know. I had seen Mike's latest video on about looking back, and I seen LaVoy, and I was thinking about everything that had happened within the last year, and it got me to thinking about when I first seen uh, uh, when I first started to hear about Oregon and Bundy's and LaVoy. It was probably right around this time last year, either a day or two after. I think it was probably like the 26th. I heard about it. Man, baby, has independent media reporters, conspiracy theorists. We have had a long, successful ride this year. We lost, somebody dear. We lost LaVoy on, I think it was January 26th. But it caused a stir in the country, um, especially in social media, to become more active. Oh, really? It hasn't? I, hang on, let me find out how to, there it is. Oh, you know what? I know how to fix you too. You can't make a comment like that and just, expect me not to respond. Uh, oh, hell yes. Oh, hell yes. Yeah, you can't say shit like that and get not get tagged up a little bit into this. But in January last year, we all seen Pete Santilli's broadcast hours and hours sometimes in the day. 3 or 4, 6 hours of streaming on what was going on. And we all seen Pete running around that night that LaVoy died, trying to get the feds to let him in to go get the women and children out of there because they do have a historical past of turning things bloody. And he turned around and got arrested, and everybody just. Uh, I did send you an invitation, Brenda. Um, and it was like when we all heard LaVoy that got killed, the outrage, that the shock and outrage of it. Yeah, I did. I thought I did. Well, let me try again. Um, I just posted it. Um, but it was like somebody had taken the wind out of the sails that night. seeing that old hardcore Arizona boy rancher sitting at the front gate, all wrapped up and braving the elements, getting to know people very well, just by watching them through the news and what they were really like. The shock and awe of the disbelief that the feds had gone out and killed somebody. Ah, there she is. Hi, sweetie. Merry Christmas.
Hey, good looking. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Pussycat. What's up?
Well, I heard that you decided that you wanted to go visit all them pretty nurses in the hospital for a little bit.
Yeah, well, that was not exactly my plan. Um, that was definitely not planned what happened. For everybody that really wants to know, uh, the 23rd of November, about between 2:30 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I went out and had a cigarette. I'd let a friend use my phone, and she got done, and my patio, my bedroom has a patio door too. It's got a real small uh, little patio where I can sit and smoke. And I was coming in, and it felt like I had actually been shot in the back. And I waited, and it wrapped around. I took a few more steps, and it wrapped around. I waited 18 hours before going in on Thanksgiving morning. Um, I got about 50% damage to my heart. I had two different types of heart attack. I didn't have any of the classic signs. Um, and I also had an electrical fib type thing, which is basically the electricity. My heart had kind of like wasn't getting the right current, and which made it really bad. And so now I walk around with a portable defibrillator on. God knows how long. I hate this thing. It makes me look like a damn domestic terrorist. Um, and shit, I'm on so many medications right now. It ain't even funny. And the doctors were really shocked at some of my. I mean, the one I was at the best heart hospital in Arizona, and they were all shocked at my numbers. They're like, "How come you're not dead?" And I tell them straight up, God wants me dead. There ain't nothing. If He wants me to come home, there ain't nothing you can do to stop that one. I said, instead of taking me home, He was with me. You know, um, they just couldn't believe I went 18 hours like that, and so I spent 5 days in the hospital. Um, the good thing that's coming out of it is I'm down to 2 cigarettes a day now instead of a pack or a pack and a half. So hopefully by this time next month, I won't be smoking at all. Um, the other good news that came out of it is that when they went to go put my stent in, by the time I came out, my sixth grandson had arrived. Um, my daughter was down in the ER, my youngest one, when they were giving me morphine, and the nurse thought it was me that kind of let out a grunt and a groan. And she goes, "They shouldn't hurt you because it's going into an IV." I said, "That wasn't me, that was her." She turned around to my daughter and looked down and goes, "What's wrong with you?" And she was on the damn, the doctor's stool. She rolls around, and she's way out there. And then the little nurse goes, "Are you okay?" And I'm, by this time now, between the heparin, the nitro that they're running through, the morphine and everything, I'm comfortably numb. I go, "Honey, because what they didn't know is that she got scraped Monday." And I said, "Hun, what are you doing on the phone and how far are they?" She goes, "Dad, they're like 6, 7 minutes apart, if that." The nurse turned white. She was on the phone with her doctor saying, "I'm not going to be at that hospital. I'm in labor. I'm going to be at this hospital. And he asked why, and she told him. He says, fine, I'll come over there and deliver it. So when yeah, real cool doctor, came over, and Silas was born while it was during my procedure. After I came out of it, uh, I really don't remember too much afterwards. From like between 1 o'clock in the afternoon and well, actually about 3 in the afternoon until 8. I had people in and out of the room and talking to me and shit, and I don't even remember the conversation. But I do remember that they said, "You are now a grandpa." I went right on. Then they threatened to call security on me because I wanted to go down and see my grandson. So the doctor made me a deal, and I took it. And they lived up to their end, so I had to live up to my end of the deal. And so now, well, we're just waiting to see what they're going to do. I'm waiting to get in with a cardiologist because of the insurance and everything. So, but other than that, I'm alive and well and kicking. I've been watching a lot of stuff going on the internet, like I was talking about with Lavoie about how everybody was shocked and everything that went on this year between the riots, the election, the campaigns, everything. I mean, social media has had a field day. And I mean a field day in the sense that we as Americans got to see some of the subjects that we had started talking about in January when the Burns, Oregon thing was going on. And, the uranium one with the Russians, Harry Reid is, the wicked bad witch or warlock of the West, more like it. And still is, even though he's retiring. Yeah. But we've seen a lot of these types of subjects that we had already knew about, and we're talking about it on social media come to life this year. And I don't know if anybody's seen this week because I have AP on my phone, and the Associated Press actually put out a notice about Burns, Oregon, in that county, and I can't remember what the county's name was, but that wasn't what they were talking about. They were talking about the county that was next door to it, how the land, how everything that the Bundys and Lavoie and everybody was trying to do in Burns, Oregon has now caught on, and the fight is now on in the county right next to it. And this was this week. And I was like, man, it took a little while to get some traction, for Burns to start seeing some fruit, to come out of this. And now we have another county that's involved in the same type of thing. So, I thank God for that. Like I said, we all know about the uranium one. Deal that happened. We all know that what happened to Miss Penitentiary Clinton, what happened to her in her election, and a group of us were talking about this prior and after my heart attack, and we were talking about a PSYOP operation from the American people. A lot of people in social media that hangs out, and Americans that go in and get on their computers, whether they're on the phone or at a desktop or a laptop or however, we're doing research on the candidates to find out what was going on. And I really do believe that a lot of Americans were misfeeding mainstream media fake numbers. Um, as far as, they said, well, there's 96% chance, she's going to win this and that and that. And America got to see how far left our freedom of press is. And I'm just going to say the freedom of press because we're talking about the cable news, local news, newspapers, the whole damn nine thing. Everybody had a tizzy fit. And the Americans exposed the media for what they were actually not worth, because really they're not worth anything to me anymore. They started moaning, bitching, and crying that night. And we seen how people just did not, what sore losers they really are. And I really thought by time the 19th got around this month that everything would have been settled. And it did get settled on the 19th. Um, I'm not one for big for the electoral college. I never have been. But the founding fathers in their, and I liked what one guy said, in their ultimate heavenly wisdom and geniusness of when they were devising the Constitution. They put this in here because they used to be like, I think there was like 3 or 4 electoral votes back then. And some people look at it that, well, they did that because of, you know Americans aren't smart enough to choose their own leader, and this was just like a safety net, and the whole 9 yards, whatever it is. And it proves that the system does work. Um, I've seen a lot of Democrats screaming, beating their chest and their head against the wall about they're wanting to do away with the electoral college. And, I hear this shit every damn time the Democrats get up and they lose. They haven't lost this bad since 1876, or was it 1897? Well, one of the two. Anyway, they got their ass handed to them. But so we all have had a very interesting year to look back on. And oh, by the way, Brenda, I do love your Snow White and the Seven Dwarves thing. That was fucking just right on, hon. I mean, that is. I sat there and laughed, and when you have a heart attack, people just, it's like a grown adult gets treated like a child, you know. I was laughing so damn hard on that. My ex-wife and my roommate came in. Oh, you got to stop laughing so hard. It's back, And I'm like, really?
Laughter's the best medicine.
Yeah. And I turned around and I looked at him and I go, sex will kill you too, but you don't see this Surgeon General warning you against it. It's good for you. It burns off calories, but yes, it can kill you. I actually had a friend of mine that was in Tehran, in Iran, when he got out 3 days before the embassy got took over in 1979, and he was on his honeymoon. And make a long story short, he had a massive heart attack and she collapsed his lung all in one shot. So yeah, that kind of stuff can be deadly to you. But I this last month of seeing what is going on in the news is just, it's great. But at the same time, I watch social media and everything to a lot of people is the following: it's a conspiracy, it's a false flag, it's not what it seems to be. I hate to tell you guys, sometimes all of that out there is wrong, because you can't, you can look at it and be suspicious, but it's not always, there's not an evil agenda behind it. You know, I mean, people that, you know, I mean, I found this out about 6 hours later after the assassination of the Russian ambassador. And you won't find, I mean, this was a mind blower. You actually, there was two assassinations that night. Another one was from another Russian. They knocked him off in his house. He got shot in the head, and they found the gun under the kitchen sink. They took his wife out and sent her back to Moscow. And I never did catch the what his importance was. He was a government official from Russia, so technically there was two assassinations in one night on the Russians. So you know, I mean, but you know, when you have a, you know, I heard people say about the assassin, look at that, he's standing behind there so calm, so cool, you know, and all this, and he doesn't look like he's upset after he gets after he shoots, he kills the ambassador and shoots 3 or 4 other people. He's doing this lecture and stuff, and he's so calm and cool. Well, let's stop and look at this for a second. He's a trained police officer that knows how to use a gun. I mean, it would be no different if you stuck a spec op person behind him, you know, a Ranger, a SEAL, Delta, whatever, a Marine LRP, standing in the back there doing the same thing. I mean, people are trained to be calm and cool. That's what police officers are trained to be. You need to keep your head on your shoulders during everything. Does it always work? No, it doesn't. You know, so like I said, you know, Brenda, everything there isn't, everything that goes on isn't a conspiracy or a false flag op. You know, I mean, some things that happen in the world just fucking happen. You know, it really is that just the way that is. Hey, Laz, how you doing? Well, hang on, let me see what you said because I can't. Well, the lack of blood, yeah, I can understand why that would make you kind of question it. But let me ask you, I mean, if you look at the gunman, he got shot how many times? And I only seen, I mean, I heard that he got shot 4 times, and I only seen 2 bullet holes that had blood, you know, coming from his shirt. I mean, how, you know, the ambassador got shot in the back, so that's probably where all the blood was pooling out at. It was coming out of the wound itself. It was from his back. So I mean, you know, the forensics of it, you know, all the medical shit that goes along with it doesn't. A bullet doesn't always go through you guys. I hate to tell you that. You know, it's just that way. A bullet doesn't always penetrate and go from point A in your back to point C out your chest and lodge somewhere. Your body has bones in it that can stop things. I mean, if you really look at it there, and to give you an example of it is look at the Kennedy assassination with the pristine bullet. Okay, like the guy said, with physics, I can make an elephant fly. But as many times as they're trying to claim that one bullet went through, I mean, you can find more particles in Conway's body of that round. I swear to God, it disintegrated in him because, I mean, he went through a rib cage, you know, so not everything is forensically, you know, I mean, you don't have to have a lot of blood. I mean, I seen a guy's chest, and I mean inside a guy's chest in a car accident, and he wasn't bleeding a lot. And I mean profusely, like you would think, like from a gunshot wound to the head. Well, look, I've even had people say this, and we'll use Lavoie as an example that he's still alive. All right. After all what we have learned and everything like that, from the experts, you know, and I'm not talking about the state or the federal. I'm talking about the private guys that go out there that really know their shit. You don't always have a lot of blood. I mean, when you get shot, you didn't, and I've heard this too, you know, when they shot Lavoy, well, his jacket soaked up the blood. Where's the blood in the snow? What, you know, I mean, we can go on and on about this. I mean, I've seen a guy put his head through the windshield, seen the inside of his brain, opened up the car door, and I seen a river of blood coming out of it. Yet, 3 weeks later, I watch a guy chest in an auto accident just being, and there was, I mean, he wasn't bleeding. So I mean, there's just so much stuff about it, you know. The guy's dead. I'm sorry, I have to go on that, you know, I'm going to go on the faith that the guy's dead. I can't, you know, I don't have proof that the guy was using dum rounds or dummy bullets or blanks. You know, I mean, it really, it gets to the point where we get overcritical in looking in things, Brenda. I mean, we really absolutely do, because it's, I don't know if it's not being paranoid. I think it's just being way too much being suspicious, don't you think? I mean,
I think so. I think that we get so indoctrinated with the media and the stuff that they pour out to us, and then we find out that, oh, well, that was a big lie. Lie about next. So
right,
the next news story that comes out, you know, we're looking at it suspicious. It's sort of like that story about the little boy that cried wolf.
right,
You know, they're going to tell us anything true. We can't believe anything they say. So we just get used to saying it's all just a bunch of garbage.
right. Well, you know, I mean, if you look at some of these police videos, you know, and that have been released about people being shot, you don't see puddles of blood running out all over the place on some of them. You know, I mean, they're standing right there, you know, and the person's dead, you know, so I mean, we look at everything suspiciously, which is fine. But the thing of it is, not everything's a cover up, or you know, I mean, I expect, and I will tell you, I will expect something this weekend. If it ain't, you know, the attacks in Germany with the guy, that I will tell you is an operation that got botched from the get go. That damn thing in Berlin with that semi truck, that has controversy and covert action all over it. I mean, oh my God. But the thing of it
I
is,
don't look for as much to happen this weekend as I do next weekend.
you think it'll be New Year's?
Yeah. And the reason being is that at Christmas time, people are generally at home with their families, and you know you're not out anywhere over Christmas Day, Christmas Eve,
Right.
unless you're at somebody's house. But on New Year's, everybody's out at nightclubs or some kind of public venue of some sort celebrating. You've got the big deal in New York City with the ball drop.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every large city has something going on for New Year's Eve.
Well, you know,
So they'll get more people if they go for something like that.
I was listening yesterday. I think it was NBC, about the warning about the attacks on the Christian churches here in the United States. And what I found kind of, I don't want to say disturbing about it is that the news and the government are putting this information out. You know, there's a website that lists these churches and stuff. You come to find out, guess what? That's old information. It's nothing new. It's old. You know, and when you start seeing signs like that, then you know that the government's just being paranoid. You know, they want everybody to be on edge. This, right now, I tell you what, I could care less if a nuclear weapon went off right now because I'm at that point in my life. People. Uh, uh, I've lived a good life. I mean, that's just like I was saying to these doctors. I've lived a great life. I don't. If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. I've gotten to look at things about certain events that have happened this year that there's something there, but then you can tell on the ones that there is actually nothing there. And people try to blow it up to be something that it isn't. Uh, I do too. Laz, I really, um, with Lavoie, there is a video out there, and I don't know if I still have it on my YouTube site or not. I really don't know. I think I saved it. And this guy goes into so many details about the shooting from start to finish. I mean, we all know that look, the Supreme Court said on them type of roadblocks that they had set up, it's illegal. It's a death trap. I mean, when you look at the drone footage, you knew that they were putting them into a kill zone. I mean, and if you don't know what a kill zone is, it's where you have the maximum firepower on a poor individual group, a small group of people, where you're going to shred them to death. In the video also, they were talking about Lavoie's reaching. And the guy said, wouldn't you be reaching for your side too if you had just been shot? I mean, there is a great video out there that somebody had done. And I don't know, Gelvin, what the heck is Gelvin's last name? It starts with an S. Shrine, Sein. That's, yeah. He had it on, well, I seen it on his website, and I do believe that's where I got it from. And I mean, it goes in. You're talking about braking speed. He's talking about his speed when he's braking. And I mean, this dude goes into this thing and just breaks it all down. I mean, from when Lavoie took off until the end of the shooting. And I mean, when I say the end of the shooting, that's when they got done and they got everybody out of the truck. There's no doubt. I mean, in my mind, there's no doubt that, I mean, we knew that the FBI had lied 2 days after that. I mean, if you go in and you look at the statements from the Oregon State Police, their investigation, they had cops. One of the cops had a frigging casing in his pocket that was supposed to be evidence. And when they took him down to wherever the hell they were questioning these officers, they have to literally strip down naked. Everything in your pockets, everything on you belongs to the investigation. And in that investigation, there was I will say this. Oregon State Police got the bad side of the deal because they got used by the FBI in this whole mess, especially on when it came to the roadblock. I wish, and there's times I really do. I really wish I could have been a fly on the wall about 12 hours before all of this went down, just to see where they were coming from. We know that well, Mike Soror, and we were talking about McConley, and people were always talking about, well, the one that gets let go doesn't have any charges with him and gets all his property back is working for the feds. And when Mike and Eric and Lori heard that, and I heard it, I typed it right in the chat room. I said, "It's Mike because it's McConley because look, they let him go and they kept everybody else out." And a lot of people were like, "No, no, no, couldn't be him, couldn't be him." Well, look what happened this year. We found out it was. You know, um, he lives here in Arizona. In fact, he doesn't live too damn far away from me as far as he just lives on the other side of town. And when I say on the other side of town, I'm talking like 30 miles because we're a metropolitan area. We're all just smashed in together. Um, I would, I wonder at times if there isn't some body cam images out there of that shooting.
Oh, there are. You know there are. Those guys had their cameras and everything on, and they're not releasing any of that. I
They,
want to know what happened with that investigation that they had back last March on those cops, where they came out with that report that there was 2 bullets that were fired that were not in their reports, and that they was trying to figure out who it was exactly that was responsible for that. And I think they need to release the names. I think they need to release the names of the shooter. I think that it all needs to be brought out. Maybe they're waiting for all of that until Mrs. Finnecom's wrongful death suit comes out. That could be the reason that they're hiding all that information and keeping it so protected. But I'm waiting for the day that it all comes out and we know exactly what happened with all that.
well, the thing of it is, regarding that shooting, and I tell you, this is what blew my mind because I mean, I cannot believe that the video that was taken inside the truck, it is really damning evidence in this type of in this type of situation because especially at the end after Lavoie gets shot, you can barely hear, even in that video of the breakdown, you can barely hear commands. I mean, there is no commands really being shouted. They're not, I mean, they are trying to lay waste to that truck after Lavoie goes down. I mean, they were, even though they were peppers, trying to use bullets to break the glass, tear gas, flashbang grenades, everything was pouring into that truck. The window that was behind Lavoie's, the driver's window behind the passenger window on the left-hand side was shot out. We all seen that. That wasn't because Lavoie shut the damn door. That window was blown out by a round. The FBI had got their hands caught, their shooting team got their hands caught up because they didn't report the rounds that they fired, and it came out a few days later that the HRT, which they say SRT now, but I just refer to it as a term that I know of is HRT. They said they didn't fire anything, but these bullets and these rounds, the mysterious ones that apparently the boogeyman or the snowman fucking shot. I guess the snowman decided to get pissed because he didn't like the color of Lavoie's truck, I guess. But when you're in a situation like that and you're getting fired at, your first friggin' instinct is down and get the hell out. It's the fight or flight thing. And Lavoie, and I really believe that everybody, well, Lavoie and the other guy and the oldest lady in that truck. I believe for every second that they were in that truck, they believed that the government was going to kill them. You can hear it, you can sense it. They were basically going to be lambs put on the chopping block. So and everybody, whether and I still haven't gotten clear information on this. I haven't heard any more about this 9mm that apparently somebody gave Lavoie's one of his kids or son-in-laws or whatever gave him a 9mm. You know, here's the other thing to this. If you look at the pocket where that 9mm was, there's no way in hell you could get that out fast enough to draw. I'm sorry. It's impossible. I mean, we all know when Lavoie did carry a gun, he carried a holster, it would look like a 6-shooter. Why all of a sudden the change up? Well, they found all them automatic weapons. Well, I don't want to say automatic weapons. Let's just say semi-automatic weapons under the back seat of the truck. Well, yeah, they were there. There ain't nothing in the law. You're supposed to have your weapons secured.
Well, they've already determined that the picture that had the gun in a pocket was a Photoshop picture because the materials did not match up in that photo. There's some light blue denim versus dark blue denim, a seam where there would not be any seam.
Right.
It didn't match up. It's a Photoshop picture. The first information they came out with on the 9mm was the information on the serial number, which said that it was a stolen gun.
Right.
And then you had Miss Finicum saying, well, he did have a 9mm because my son-in-law gave it to him for Christmas. But they never did say if it was the same gun that the police had. Did the serial numbers match up on that gun or the one that he was given for Christmas? There's a lot of unanswered questions there that if it ever goes to trial, I don't know where it all stands with going to trial, but I know that she was suing for wrongful death.
Well, and as far as that, I mean, that is going to be, just to take, we're gonna pop back to that particular thing that you just mentioned, but let's just move on a little bit here. We have actually seen some victories in the last couple months. Everybody walked away from it court-wise. Okay? I mean, thank God for prayers, because I tell you what, and thank God for a jury that actually could smell and see bullshit that the government was doing. Now, and we've seen how the lawyer reacted to the U.S. Marshals when they went to go get the Bundys, to take the Bundys down to Nevada. We've seen in the courtroom what happened there. They tased the shit out of the damn attorney and, were literally, rough riding his ass right there in the courtroom. And these are the people that are, the government that are sore losers. Now, they're in Nevada. I haven't heard nothing. I mean, I take that back. I did listen to an interview that Deb did with Pete in the jail. It was so long, and, there was so much controversy just in that conversation alone. I got lost. So, but the wrongful death suit, that is going to be, here's the thing of it. That could take years. I mean, literally take years for.
And the government's going to drag it out as long as they possibly can.
And that's exactly what I meant.
Wrong.
And that's exactly what I meant. I mean, after Lavoie got killed, I mean, I heard it wasn't even a couple months later. Maybe by the end of February, at the earliest, that the BLM was all over them in Arizona at their ranch.
Oh, and they still are.
Oh yeah, and I mean I know exactly where they're at, what city it is, um, and that I mean, man, the more you look at this, and we all can point our fingers right to Reid and Clinton on this shit because this is what's going on. Fox News with what is it, Judge Jeannie did a article. In fact, I shared it on my Google page, on my Google Plus page, um, about how damn dirty him and his son is on this deal regarding the Bundy Ranch incident and what they're doing and the links that they're going through. On that alone, you're looking, what is it, 2016? It's been, what, 2 years since that happened? And now they're just, they're going to trial for it now. I mean, it just, and you're seeing other things about the BLM now that is starting to come up into the front. That's, I really believe that they're going to be an agency that's going to be in a lot of trouble next year with the Trump administration. I really believe that. They may go quietly in the night, but I have a feeling they're going to get some payback, not the way they want. I know if I was the incoming president, knowing what I know, that would be one of my hot spots. Would be right there. I mean, that would probably be the first thing I do. Is I would disband that corporation. It's not even a government entity. I'd just get rid of them and return all the property back to their owners. But that's just me and wishful thinking. But I'm not the president. Um, the thing, I'm going to tell everybody, you need to actually watch this, and I'm serious. And there is a movie out that I just watched this week. It's called Do Not Resist, and it happened. It is the movie is a documentary based on Ferguson, on how the U.S. government, Homeland, DHS, and the military have militarized our police. They went and did these interviews. There was, and Concord, New Hampshire, had 2 murders in it, and the people did not want the MRAP vehicle. They did not want anything like that in their town. People were, there wasn't a cry or a need for a vehicle like that, but yet the city council needed that MRAP. And then I turned around and found out that the United States government was giving these damn things away to the police departments. Brand new shit and things. Some of them hadn't even been used. But, and then they cut away and they were talking about the MRAPs, like what I just said. They got on the subject about the 1,200 bayonets that, the senators are like, really, why do you have to give these people bayonets? Well, it's, some places believe that it's good for riot control. And the one guy goes, we haven't seen that since Kent State. I mean, now they've got other means of doing things. You really don't need bayonets. I mean, it really is at that point. But this documentary showed how Ferguson really brought the police militarized situation out into the light. And it covered a bunch of county sheriffs, cities, and we're talking about little, if you blink, you go through it, type cities and counties, that really don't. I mean, it's incredible the stats on fucking warrant serves in some of these places that have gone up, back in the 80s, they were maybe doing 20 or 30 a year, and now in some spots they're nationwide now. I think they were up to almost 1 million in 1 year. I mean, and he's, they showed this on this thing. This guy had been busted. He was trying to get his, they seized his money, and they got him on possession that, it was in his book binder and it was away from the house. They busted the guy's parents' windows and everything, and there wasn't even enough in there for 2 joints, and they busted the guy, and he was out the same night. I mean, you wonder where the hell the mentality of this is. And there are police departments out there that were telling these guys, look, we go on these warrants. It's not always, and I'll use the city of Mesa since it's mine. The city of Mesa may get called by the FBI and say, hey, can you go do a tactical knock and serve this warrant, secure the location, and then call us, and we'll come over and we'll investigate it. So we have county sheriffs, not only county sheriffs, city police and state police SWAT teams running around, busting into people's places and serving warrants for the alphabet divisions that are going on. And some of them, you look at it and you're going, why is this happening? I mean, you're taking people to jail literally on petty shit. It really is down to that. So, but Brenda, tell me, are you ready for Christmas?
Tell you what?
Are you ready for Christmas?
You're breaking up on me. I'm getting some buffering off of you.
Okay, I said, are you ready for Christmas? Brenda, are you ready for Christmas?
Well, there's not much Christmas goes on here because it's just me. And the animals don't care. I've got Fred the cockatiel. He's my co-host on my show. And I've got the canaries, and I've got the dogs, and they really don't give a hoot one way or another about Christmas. So there's not a whole lot of Christmas goes on. We just kind of hunker down and wait for it all to blow over.
Well, that's what I'm doing. Tomorrow I have to go over to my daughter's place. We're having chicken enchiladas for Christmas. They decided everybody wanted to do Mexican food.
Hey.
So, yeah.
Yeah, everybody's got to have something to eat. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I love eating, My daughter says to me today, she comes over and she says, Dad, you're going to be there tomorrow? And I got to tell you, this is the honest to God's truth. On Thanksgiving, Brenda, I called my daughter early in the morning saying, hon, I'm not going to be there. Because I had already talked to my ex-wife. She was she's my roommate. And I told her, I'm going to have to go into the hospital. Well, the girls thought that I didn't want to come and spend Thanksgiving with him. And then, because something got said. And then when they found out that Dad was having a heart attack, the world just stopped.
Yeah.
And so when they came to the hospital, I actually literally kicked everybody out and said, go home and cook, enjoy your Thanksgiving, come back. I'm going to be fine, So when she asked me last night, actually this morning, she said, Dad, you're going to come over, for Christmas dinner. I said, yeah. I said, unless I die, and I was just, saying, don't talk like that. Don't talk like that. And I'm like, what? And, I'm walking around, and they get upset at me when I take this damn portable defibrillator off for like 5 or 6 hours during the day. I mean, when you have arthritis and you have a major storm moving through like this, the last thing you want to do is have a sports bra hooking type looking thing on you that has 4 sensors and 2 pads that actually you could be mistaken as a fucking bomb vest. I'm not kidding you. you know, and that stuff is digging into your back right on, and I mean on the key locations where your arthritis is at, and you're miserable already. So when I take it off, I don't take it off because I'm rebelling against it. I just don't want to be in that much pain to cause me my heart to start screwing up either. So yeah, I said that, oh, unless I die, and I
Well,
don't.
Doug, part of the problem is that all these gadgets that they come out with, that's supposed to keep you going, like this machine they got you hooked up to, and all that kind of stuff. These TENS units, and all these modern conveniences that they've come to help us prolong our lives, was all invented by young people.
Yeah. Well, no, this is no kidding, Brenda. They sent me home with 2 batteries, okay? And these batteries, I mean, they're probably about the length of a D-sized battery, about the same round, I mean, it would be about the size of a D battery. They sent me home with the charger that has an antenna. They sent me home with a private fucking hotspot to transmit whatever the hell this is doing to that little thing over there, up to a damn satellite, and to wherever the hell they're at. You know? Hey, Rat, how you doing, brother? And, I get... this is how bad, brother. I didn't even tell you the worst of it, all right? And I'm going to get into a little bit of details here. It might be a little bit TMI, but it's medical, so you guys are just going to have to hang on. Now, mind you, I'm in the hospital on Thanksgiving. They are pumping heparin, morphine, and nitro through me by liquid, right? So they have me upstairs. They put the stent in, and that's the one thing I just don't understand about this. I really don't. All of a sudden, my whole the left valve up in my chest clogged up so bad at one time, like there was no warning signs, like I might be in trouble, I need to go get it rotor-rooter before there was nothing like that. Right? So they put the stent in, and I was, recovering, and when I woke up, I felt like I did when I woke up Wednesday morning. 100%. I'm ready to go. Get me the hell out of here. I'm ready to go home, right? Well, I had to call the nurses to go, every time you had to get up to go to the bathroom, you had to pee in a urinal so that way they could measure it, right? And I go in there, and I do my job, and I'm looking at this, and I'm going, what the fuck? And I told the nurse, I said, hon, my urine is really not the right color. She goes, what do you mean it's not the right color? I said, well, you know how when you do a UA, it's usually tan or yellow? Yeah. I said, no, not this. This looks like friggin' black iced tea. And she goes, oh, that's normal. So she takes off, right? I grab my cell phone and I call my friend that's a trauma doctor that runs an ER back east. Now, mind you, it's 11 o'clock at night, and I'm waking her ass up. And I'm like a daddy to her. And you could tell she was looking at the phone going, she goes, Daddy, what's wrong? And I go, hon, I'm in the hospital. And you could hear her just come awake. And I'm like, she's like, what happened? And I told her I had a massive heart attack. And she said, well, how bad's the damage? I told her, if you need me to come out there and do surgery on you, I will jump on a plane and come out, and I will do the cutting on you for free. I mean, this is how much this woman loves me, and she's a real smart doctor. Me and her talk about medical stuff, and she says, like, she says, for somebody that's never been to medical school, you sure do know a lot of shit, you know? So
Well, I
I
don't
said,
know, Doug. There's some people that I don't like that I'd cut for free.
oh, yeah, well, that's true, too. I mean, that's true, too. But so I go, now, mind you, it's 11 o'clock at night at her place. And I said, she goes, what's the problem, Dad? And I'm like, Savannah, I said, why would my urine be dark? She goes, well, you mean like dark yellow? I said, no. I said, imagine you're making iced tea from black tea. You know how dark that gets? She goes, yeah. I said, that's what it's. She says, Dad, she says, when your doctor comes in the morning, the one on the floor, so yeah, ask him to do, um, to draw blood and to find out if you have an infection. I said, an infection? She goes, yeah. She says, I will call you at 7 o'clock in the morning and I will explain this to you. I said, okay. So 7 o'clock in the morning comes and there's the phone. It rings. And I'm like, hey, little one, what's up? She says, with them running the heparin through you, it sends out your blood so bad that you can actually, within a matter of hours, get a UI, a urinary tract infection. About that time, the floor doctor walks in. And I'm talking to her. I said, hang on, he's here. She said, put me on speakerphone. So I put her on the speakerphone and she says, can you hear me? She goes, yeah. And she introduced herself. And he goes, is she really a doctor? I go, oh, yeah, she is. I said, she runs the ER back east out of her own hospital. She's a trauma doctor. And she's spitting out all this orders for tests to be run. He goes, well, I don't think he needs that. He needs it. Have you seen his urine? He goes, no. Did the nurses report it to you? He says, I just looked at the chart. There's nothing mentioned in it. And he goes, when's the last time, you had to take a leak? And I said, I just did 5 minutes ago and the nurses haven't flushed it. So he walked in there. He come out and he goes, holy shit. And they went and they did they did their little test that they were supposed to. Mind you, all during this time, guys, I'm only supposed to have blood drawn in the first 24 to 36 hours twice a day. I'm beyond that. We're talking like 8-9 times a day in the first, yeah. So they come in, and this was on a Friday morning. The nurse walks in and she puts up this damn bag of IV, antibiotics. Now they're running this shit through me. It takes a half an hour to go through, and it's like every 4 to 8 hours that they run this shit through me, right? So Saturday, the same doctor comes in. And he says, you got an infection, and it's because of the heparin and all this stuff. I said, hey, doc. And he's like, yeah. How many times am I supposed to have my blood drawn a day? Now, this is at 10 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning. A vampire walks in. They go right for the right, the elbow part on the right, on my right arm. I mean, it looked like, man, I was a fucking drug addict. I mean, you could actually see, I mean, they were doing some serious shit to that arm. I mean, it was really bad. He says, you're only supposed to get it once a day. Why? And the vampire lady looks up at him. I go, do you realize this is the third time since midnight? He says, you got to be mistaken. She goes, no, he's not. She says, because I work from 11 to 11. And she says, I drew it at midnight. I drew it at 4 o'clock, and I'm drawing it now. And he went, why are you drawing it? And she told him. He went, oh, bullshit. And I mean, he walked right out, changed the orders, and it went. And this is the thing about hospitals. You give an order, you're supposed to, The nurses are following, everybody's following it, but they keep repeating it when it's unnecessary to do it. And Sunday morning, man, my poor right arm in the bend there. Oh my God, was that thing swollen? Oh man, I could have. Uh, I mean, I. The only good thing that I really liked about being in the hospital during the whole thing is I got to actually order my own breakfast, lunch, and dinner, whatever I wanted that didn't have a lot of salt to it. You know, that was on the cardiac menu. And I mean, I was eating like a king, you know. And I'm like, hey, this ain't bad. Room service is great. They come, every 4 to 6 hours, they come give me a morphine shot. That 3 hours later, they may drop me a Percocet and some muscle relaxers. And I was just kicked back watching TV, which I never do anyway. I mean, I was watching shit that I didn't even know, and I'm like, this ain't really too bad. So the way the insurance runs, I was supposed to go see this cardiologist, and they wanted 250 from me, and I said no. I said I'm going to my PCP tomorrow, and I'll get it signed up. Right. Last week, I get this phone call, Brenda. I am not kidding you. It's from the hospital. They said, Mr. Krantz. I'm like, yeah. They go, you need to come back to the hospital. And I'm like, what the hell's wrong? Why do I want to come back to the hospital? Well, the cardiologist and your PCP have ordered you to go to this med class. And I'm looking at my computer screen. I got my smartphone, and I'm looking at my computer screen just fucking dumbfounded. And I'm like, why do I need to go to this class? She says, well, we are going to teach you about the interactions of all your medications you're on. Hey, just looking, Merry Christmas. And I go to the lady, if there was any serious interaction with my medicine, don't you think by now I would know it? And she goes, well, what do you mean by that? I've been out of the hospital almost a month, sweetheart, and I've been on this med, taking it religiously like I was supposed to and everything. Don't you think if there was a problem with med interaction and that I would be, it would show up by now? She says, I'm just following my orders. So I called my PCP up. I made an appointment for Wednesday. I got to go to the hospital and go to this medicine. What I'm doing is I'm helping some poor pharmacist get extra overtime. That's all we're talking about here, okay? I have to go to the hospital to talk to one of these pharmacists about drug interaction with all these medicines, right? So I talked to my PCP, and he says to me, I asked him, I said, why am I not on nitro? He goes, I don't know. Why ain't you? You're supposed to have it. I said, I don't have any. He says, well, you're coming in Tuesday anyway. We'll just go ahead and give it to you then. I'll write you a script for it. I said, okay. And I said, why in the hell am I going to a pharmacist to find out about med interactions and stuff? He says, because it's now the insurance policy that when you're dealing with heart attack victims and cancer victims, you're going to be taking so many different meds that you need to be realized on what they could do to you and what the signs are. And I said to my doctor over the phone, you know something? I went and I had a heart attack, and I got bombarded with so much information. I'm still trying to just chew on that. I just had a heart attack. He goes, no, you didn't. I go, I didn't? He says, you had a major heart attack that destroyed 50% of your heart. At the same time, you short-circuited it. So you actually were having two different types of cardiac events at one time. So he says, you remember when you asked me about the pain management doctor putting that radio frequency thing to burn your nerves, to help you stop lower back pain? I go, yeah. He goes, you know why the cardiologist and I told you not to do that? I go, no, why? Because when they shoot that electricity through you to burn them nerves, it could kill you because your system is short circuited. I said, you mean they put the needles in my back and they send that electricity through me? That electrical shockwave could actually kill me? He goes, yeah. He says, why do you think they got you running around with a defibrillator? He says, 99.9%, you're going to have a pacemaker and a defibrillator probably put in February or March. And I said to him right on the phone, I swear to God, you guys, cancer and heart attacks are the big money makers of you people. And he turned around and said, yeah, that's exactly right, too. So, I mean, I look at some of these doctors, they don't know how to take me, man. Because, some of the guys say, I don't care. I just don't care. Why are you talking to me about this? I don't care. If I die, I die. I just don't care. They go, well, that's a shitty attitude to have. I said, are you God? You have to stop and ask, are you God? No. And then, hey, then, it's a fact. But this is what I'm not kidding you, Brenda. This one poor cardiologist, you think I was giving him a heart attack just by the damn blood readings that they were getting back on me that first couple hours when I was in there. He says, I've never seen numbers this high in my life. He says, how the heck are you still alive? And I'm like,
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm a cancer survivor. It was 20 years ago that I had cancer, and I managed to go through all the paces and survived it. But I came to a lot of conclusions through that. I came to conclusions that you have to actually fight them if you want to save your life, because they don't want to cure you. They only want to keep you well enough to keep coming back. They don't want you dead, but they don't want you well.
Well, see, that's like my mom. She had one 18 years ago. And her doctor wanted her to go to this surgeon because of, something on the test was between mild and medium. And she needed to go in and see this surgeon. So she sent him to her cardiologist, and he's like, why are you here? Well, because they said I need to, and she's fighting saying, I'm not having it. And the damn cardiologist goes, I don't understand this doctor. You don't need it. That's for a woman your age and a heart attack victim, that's normal. That kind of stuff is normal. Just because it's 1 point off doesn't mean you need surgery immediately. It's possible it could get up to 75, and we would just run a test on you to see if you're blocked. And if you're not, then, there's nothing to worry about it. We don't need to schedule you for another surgery, Hey, Angie, what you doing? And the thing of it is, I'll be honest, I do not like following doctor's orders. I'll be the first one to tell you guys, I really don't. Oh, you got to change your eating habits. Okay, and the doctor said that. I said, well, wait a minute. If I bake my chicken, bake the fish, if I do this and this in the oven, isn't that better than what I'm doing if I would do it on the stove, like frying it and stuff? Yeah. Well, I said, then, I said, we at our place where I'm at have a diabetic in the house. So we have to, we're eating healthy anyway, as close as healthy as we can get. And so I said, I'm not changing what the hell I'm eating. He says, well, you need to knock down on your salt. I said, I don't touch anything with salt. I don't even put salt on. I said, the only thing I put salt on is my damn eggs, and it ain't that much. I mean, I have eggs 3 times a week. So I said, really, the salt that I put in there ain't going to be damaging. So why should I, but they get you into this mindset that if you don't eat exercise and do this and do that and do this, you may not live. You know, take all these pills, you know, they said you have to walk 295 steps a day. So what did I do? From the chair I'm sitting in to the mailbox, okay, is 260. And walking back. So every other day, I get up and I go for my walk. I don't do it every day because when you have a heart attack and stuff, you just have days where you just want to lay in bed and do absolutely nothing. I mean, you don't feel good. You can't put your finger on it. You just feel like, yeah, like you're sick.
Something you might want to consider. Here's an idea for you. They got these, well, I call them bicycle units. It's not really a bicycle. It's just this little pedal thing. It sits on the floor and it plugs into an outlet. And you put your foot on the pedals, and there's a little control knob that you can control the speed on it. And put your feet on them pedals, and it'll get your legs to wind in that thing. I don't know why that would be any different than walking. If you just do that, for however many minutes a day that you need.
The one thing that and I'll be very honest with you, that I am not looking forward to is that damn stress test.
Oh, hell.
I've been through 2 already before I had a heart attack. I'm not doing it again.
Well, they have a different method of doing them now that you don't have to be on a treadmill. They've got what do they call it, a stress test, where they do something, they inject you with something, I guess.
It's a nuclear test. It is a nuclear test. They actually put radiation into you. My mom had one, and she says I couldn't believe it. She says I thought my heart was gonna explode, and I'm like, what? Yeah, and I'm like, oh man,
Oh, I think I'd be telling you to do that.
I'd be like, no, I don't think so. But here's the other thing about it. I told the doctors when I was in the hospital.
We'll just mark that little test that, let's say we did it and not.
Yeah, really? Yeah, can we just say we did it and really don't? And for all of you that are out there that are ex-smokers, I really give you credit. For all of you that are still smoking, congratulations. But I'm in the middle of the nowhere zone, okay? I have been wearing a patch since Thanksgiving. The nicotine patches.
Well, I quit 8 years ago. So.
Well, congratulations. And I went to see my PCP.
If I can quit them, you can quit them.
Right. I got pissed off at the doctor. I said, you tell me I can't drink. You tell me I can't smoke. You tell me I can't have sex. There's no damn vice. So I said, so here's what we're going to do. We're not, and I'm going to say this. Since my heart attack and they put that stent back in me, I am not kidding you. I actually feel like a 16-year-old. And you know what I mean. So
I'll tell you, Doug. Let me enlighten you a little bit here. I don't drink, smoke, and there ain't nobody here but me, so there ain't no sex going on.
Yeah.
So the only thing I have left is to aggravate the hell out of people. That's that's one thing that I sure as hell enjoy doing. Well, so you may have to adopt my philosophy.
Well, here's the thing of it. So I've been, I get home and and my PCP says, you've been trying since September, and I'm not going to badger you. You know what you need to do. I'll support you in anything, So they put me on with the no smoking, right? He says, how many cigarettes a day did you used to smoke? I said anywhere between 20 and 25. Okay. I'm down to 2 cigarettes, and I'm wearing the patch. I'm down to, well, actually a cigarette and a half because I roll my own. And I have my ex, my mom, and some of my kids and some other people that just, you need to quit smoking. You need to, man, stop. And I finally, a couple weeks ago, I exploded. I took off my vest because I did not want the people monitoring my heart to see what was about to happen. And I took it off and I walked out into the other room with all these people. I said, look, one or two things, this is what's happening. Every time you bitch and nag at me about smoking, I want a cigarette. I'm 53 years old. I don't need to be reminded I need to quit. Okay. I said, so zip your mouths, be quiet, let me deal with this on my own terms. I don't need, I said, and I said, my mother is doing enough about the nagging. I don't need it from all you guys. You guys are supposed to be supporting me. And and my daughter came over today. She says, how many cigarettes have you had, Dad? I said, today I've had one. And at that time I did have one. I had a half of one a few hours ago. And the person at the smoke line said to me, at least just stop to think about where you're at, Doug. You went from 20 to 25 cigarettes down to almost 2. In another week or so, if you can get past the mental barrier of your brain saying, hey, you know what? And your body's not saying you need it because you have the patch on. It's the mental war you got the defeat now. And I went, oh man, I'm fucked. And she goes, what do you mean by that? I said, I'm mentally disturbed and gone. So we're defeated, And that poor lady on the other end just started to roar. And she goes, well, I need to tell you something. I'm going on holiday vacation for 3 weeks. I said, okay, fine. I said, hopefully I'll have another, good report. I don't have to worry about them calling me every week. Now I can do my thing and maybe get done with it. But it's incredible the stuff that you have to go through. I mean, and the reason they said, well, if you quit smoking, it'll help your heart heal faster. Now, there is a young man that's in his 30s that lives across the way from me upstairs. And he has stopped smoking for 6 months. And he's got such a hacker's cough. I thought at first he had pneumonia. And I found out that he had quit and his lungs were clearing up. And I'm like, I don't want to be like that for 6 months. I mean, my God, it actually did. He sounded like he had the worst case of pneumonia you've ever heard in your life. And it's unbelievable. Yeah, they do. They do blame everything on cigarettes. And this is the thing that I had said earlier. I said, look, even sex is bad for you. It can kill you. It burns off a lot of calories. A friend of mine had a heart attack and his lung collapsed on his honeymoon.
But what a way to go.
Yeah, what a way to go. At least you have a smile on your face. I mean, there's just, I mean, hey, there, and I will tell you, I'm very honest with people. Okay. And I don't care what you think about me. If you ask, well, it depends on how bad sex is bad for you. Now, wait a minute. Okay. No, look. Oh God, I can't believe I'm going to go here. Look, oh God, this is really going to be personal. I haven't had a piece of ass since December of 2011. And that last time that was with my, well, at the time she was with my wife, now my ex-wife. All right. I do a lot of cybering. Okay. And I can tell you, and I have no problem about saying this, it's pretty good. It's actually sometimes better than regular sex. The mental aspect of it. Now, when you say bad sex, now are you talking about being tied up, or are you just talking about a rotten lover? Because there's I mean, I've heard people say, "Well, that's bad sex." I go, "What? Somebody being, and what? You don't like being tied up or and tickled with a feather, or They go, and that's just wrong. That's just wrong." And I'm like, man, Americans are so uptight about sex. You go over to France, you go to Australia, man. I'm telling you, your point of view on public nudity and sex would change overnight. In World War II, they said that American pilots, American airmen, were overpaid, oversexed, and they're over there. And, you know, I told the doctor, I said, I'm not, I mean, I don't, I mean, I haven't even been able to talk to my own private doctor yet because I don't know what the hell to do because, I mean, I feel like I'm 16 again. And I'm actually having that issue. And I'm like, is this normal? You know? And I'm not going to go talk to my female friend that's a doctor about this because, yeah, it's something you just don't talk to. I mean, it was bad enough, having to deal with the nurses at the hospital. They would not let me put my underwear on for anything because I had that damn power. It actually felt like a 10-pound friggin' weight on you where they when they put the stent up, they cut you in your groin and stuff, and it was so heavy. And I'm like, can I put on my boxers? No, we got to have access to that. And I just turned around to the one nurse, and when she said that, I just, that just sounds wrong. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm telling you, this is the honest to God's truth on this conversation. And she looked at me, and we got to talking about sex and birthing virtual reality or cyber sex when you go into like the games that I'm into. And we were talking about stuff. And I had said a specific word, and this is what floored me during the whole conversation. She goes, "Oh my God." I go, "What?" She goes, "I just got done reading about that." And she goes, "I've never done that in my life." And I just looked at her and I'm like, why is this lady telling me this shit? Because we're having an adult conversation, but I really don't need to know what you're in, I don't really need TMI too much, right? So she leaves. The nurse leaves, and I think, okay, I'm safe now, A couple hours later, the other nurse comes back, and she says, "Heard you were having an interesting conversation with the other nurse." And I go, "About what?" And she said about, cybering and all this and that. And I'm like, what the fuck do you guys do? Do you guys fucking report this shit to the FBI? And I said, and you can tell when somebody gets worked up. And I'm sitting on the bed, well, more like laying on the bed, and I could tell the other nurse was getting a little bit warm under the collar. And she wasn't being mad either. And she says, "Well, I want your point of view on this particular subject." And she asked me, and I said, "What is it with you women that have never experienced that? I mean, if so." I said, "You know what? Go get the other nurse." And I just had to do this. I mean, I was being a little shithead because I knew they were getting worked up. So when they came in, I said, okay, ladies, here's how you do this, okay? You go home, you do A, B, C, and D. And when you get to E, which I don't mean N, but it means explode, this is what you do. And them girls turned redder. And here, these people are professional doctors and nurses, and these two nurses got redder than a than a than a. I mean, my God, they were just hold on, give me a second here, guys. Hey, Brenda, look in the
Uh-huh.
private. I'm going to type the word. You see where it's in
Yep.
the okay. That's what we were talking about. And it, I know some doctors that are very talented and everything like that, But I mean, and how we got on that subject, I don't know. And it's like, they were curious about cyberine and everything like this, and but when that nurse says, I just got done reading about that, and I go, oh, like, how long ago? She goes, oh, last night. And I'm like, what the hell do you tell? I mean, it's one thing, like, if you and me were discussing it, it'd be one thing because I'm comfortable. But when you have two nurses that want more information on how to get there like that, it's like, man, I I wish I could have found a fucking bunker and just dug into it and just died there, because that shift, I guarantee you, I actually felt more embarrassed about talking about something like that to total strangers than I would, my normal friends. And I can't tell you guys what it is, because if I do, I could get into a lot of trouble if I say a particular word, and I'm not going to do it. No, it has nothing. Well, yeah, you could say it could have. Well, yeah, hands could work too, I guess. I mean, that's. But um, like I said, it's just a matter of thing, and it's incredible when you find yourself in the hospital on shit that people talk about. I mean, even when you're walking down the damn hall. I mean, I walked by this guy's room, and the doctor was talking, and there was a gentleman, and I'm going to say he's probably about 53, 54 years old, and he's probably my age. And I seen this cute young thing walking there. I thought it was his daughter. It turned out to be his wife. And I'm walking by the damn thing, and she says the following: well, when is he going to be good for sex? And I'm like, man, is Americans, are we that crazy? And then the doctor, you could hear the doctor, man, he was kind of like, you know. So when I see him, when he come around, I go, did you answer the lady's question? He goes, what lady's question? I said, about how soon she can jump him. He goes, I said, and I told the doctor, I said, I thought it was his daughter. He goes, hell no, that's his wife. I go, how old is she? He goes, oh, I think he said she was 30. And I'm like, oh, wow. I mean, because I know people that have that age difference in that, but it's actually, they actually they hear it, and and this is the crazy thing, because I automatically went, God, that's a cute little thing. Man, that's must gotta be his daughter. Turns out to be his wife. And it's like, you learn so much stuff, and I'm not kidding. You can have a blast in these hospitals with some of these people, just on the conversations alone. you know but I just, the last month, I am not kidding you. I have seen more doctors in the last month than I have in the last 4 or 5 years. And I hate going to the doctors. I really do. Um, and everybody says, well, you got to go, and you got to do this, you got to do that. And it's like I told you earlier. I think between cancer and heart attacks is where they make their money, because I mean, my God, I went into the hospital. I was on 2 meds, and I was taking Tylenol PM on top of it. So technically, whatever that, I mean, so it's really just 2 meds and over the counter. I came out of there with an extra 8 prescriptions.
Wow.
And I'm not kidding around. I mean, this is how it is. The doctor says you can actually see it in the CT, the damage down the front and it wrapping up around the back of your heart. And he says, you need to take all this medicine. Now, when you leave a hospital, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the serious end of it. And me and Brenda have been giggling and joking around, but here's something that you really need to understand. There is, what the hell is it called? A Kuman level is supposed to be 2, all right, at 2.0. And when I left the hospital, I was at 1.4. They put me on this medicine, and I wasn't even out of the hospital a week. I was supposed to have blood work done on a Friday, but with the insurance and everything, said, no, we don't contract with that particular insurance. You're going to have to go somewhere else. I went to my PCP doctor, and he had to run this test for me. And this level has to be at 2. It could be a little over, all right? That was on a Wednesday. On Friday, I get this phone call from the doctor, and he says, Doug, you need to knock off 1 day. Instead of taking it 7 days a week, you need to take it 6 days a week. Your cumin levels is at 4.7. It's way too high. And I asked him, why 1 day? Why not 2 days? And I have no idea what a cumin level is. I mean, that would be asking me like to explain to you what warp drive theory, how warp core in the Enterprise works. It just doesn't, it just, I just don't know what it is. But this is the type of stuff that you go through. All of a sudden, you got to start worrying about. I'm not, and I will tell everybody out there, I don't give a shit about my cholesterol. I really don't give a shit about my cholesterol count. I just don't, because I'd rather have my blood pressure under control, and that's the way I went with it. Because if my heartbeat's blazing away at warp 6, it's going to blow up my heart fast. So I was trying to get that under control. But after you have major events like this, you literally have to be on top of your own shit. Because my own private doctor said to me, he says, Doug, I can't believe they let you out at 1.4, and now you're in danger of doing this, and it's too high. Well, can't we just cut it down a couple days? No, we'll try 1 day, and then since you got to come back in Tuesday, on the X amount of date, I'll just redo the blood. And And I'm sure it's the same way with cancer victims. They've got to keep an eye on their blood levels. They got to keep an eye on all of this other crap. And literally, you have to become a doctor overnight, you know? Um, and it, you know, I have seen enough stuff in my life. I'm happy, you know? Uh, and like I said, and for all you that like Ange and Rat and everybody that, and just looking, if you didn't know, even though I had a heart attack on Thanksgiving, my sixth grandson came the same day at the same hospital. So, you know, that's the good side of it. But anyway, Brenda, I want you to plug your show. I want everybody to go to Brenda's channel, and I will tell you she has some of the cutest stories there. So Brenda, plug it, and we will get out of here for tonight.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll put the links up to both of my shows in the chat room for people.
You know you can do that.
You know, if you want to pull them and put them in the description of your shows, that you know, that would be good too.
Okay.
You click on my picture, it's going to take them to my secondary channel, because this one isn't going to get you to the story times, but the one that I just put there in the chat room will. I do story time videos that tell you a little story. Some of them make you laugh, some of them make you cry.
Yep.
You never know what I'm going to put up there next. There's generally something to amuse people somewhere along the line, and I'm going to try to get this thing to cooperate with me here. And I'll put up.
The other thing that I liked about your channel, the other one, was the Thanksgiving story that you told about the stove.
Yeah, I do all kinds of story times. Also on there is the ginger snaps. I haven't done any ginger snaps for a while. That's the ones where you know, I can just kind of go off the deep end about a subject that's irritated me.
You know, I mean this as a compliment. Okay, I really do. You remind me of the female version of Paul Harvey.
Who?
You know who Paul Harvey is. Paul Harvey.
Oh, well, hey, now that's quite a compliment there.
You really do. I mean, when I hear you do that, and I'm like, she's the female Paul Harvey of the internet, you know. So, you know, and that's my compliment to you, because I really enjoy your stories. So, you know, go over there and sub up if you need a good sub up on her channel. If you need a good laugh, you never know what she's going to come across with, something serious. If you go to her channel, look up at the one at Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I will tell you, and it says why we're so messed up. That story will tell you exactly. I mean, when you did that, I'm like, oh my God, how true this is, you know? So,
well, you know, you can pull about any one of the fairy tales and come up with pretty much the same conclusion. But Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, I mean, that's just in your face.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I mean, you know, with the names alone, you know, it's like, but, well, yeah. Hey, does that mean I can blame it on? It doesn't mean I can blame it on the anorexic chick eating the apple, right?
Well, my other channel there, I put the link up to the other one. That's the news channel, and I do several news stories about every day.
Okay.
I haven't done any today because of it being Christmas Eve. I may put something up tomorrow. I think I've got some, you know, light Christmassy kind of stories that I can put up tomorrow. So, you know, if there's people that's sitting around saying, boy, you know, everybody's celebrating but me, and here I'm sitting with nothing to do, you know, it'll give somebody a little bit to listen to.
Right.
So I'll probably put up on that tomorrow. But those are my two channels that I do stuff on, and I hope that people will sub and pass them around, you know, share them around to people. It gets the news out to folks, and also gives them a channel where they can hear, you know, some funny stories and something to make them think.
Well, you know, somebody asked me, because we were talking about this one, even when I got out about me doing my shows and stuff. And I said, well, you know, one step at a time, and when I get ready, I'll do one. And, I'm not going to rush it because of, I just, today is, it's Christmas Eve. My roommate, she's crashed out. I'm going to have to go cook dinner here in a little bit. Um, but it is the holiday time. And I just wanted to get on and say to everybody, God bless you. It is Christmas time. Please be safe when you're driving. Shopping time is over with, so you're screwed. I mean, you really are. Walmart's going to be closed. Don't go waiting in line, because if you haven't done your Christmas shopping now, you don't want to go into a Walmart. There's going to be a lot of angry people in there because they're, I should have done this long time ago. But I want everybody to have a safe and blessed holiday. Uh, I'll probably will do another video before the end of the year. And it is always nice to have you on, Brenda Hun. And I do look forward when I come on to see you pop in there. And I don't hesitate to make you get on here. Um, so, but like I said, from my family to everybody that's out there, Merry Christmas and God bless you, and a Happy New Year if I don't see you before then. You're waiting for Santa? God, I wish I still had that link to NORAD. If any of you guys got kids or grandkids with you, type in NORAD and Santa Claus, and it will actually bring up a map of where he's at right now. And it will, I mean, I seen it last year because I had one of my grandkids here, and we were tracking Santa going across the world, and by 10 o'clock he was out. Hey, Grandpa, where is he? Oh, he's just getting on the East Coast. He won't be here for a few more hours, So, everybody, God bless you. And please, no surface-to-air missile launches on Santa Claus. That's my job. And we will talk to you all sometime during the week. You know what? We'll probably do it Thursday, because that way I can update everybody on what my medical professionals think. So enjoy the food, enjoy the company of your family. This is one thing I can say. Why don't you just pass a smile to somebody that you really don't like? Don't pretend, that you care for them. Just give them a smile, say hi, and okay. And we're going to get out of here. So